Hello, happy Wednesday, everybody. This is Rachel. I'm still in St. Maarten, and I've been here for a whole week. It's been pure bliss. But I wanted to just let you know, I wanted to give a little going live to see if I could help someone and to share some things that I have learned. And I always, at the beginning of the trip, I always set intentions, or often do. And if I don't, things don't go as well. But I set an intention to be able to be grateful, to expect the best, and to learn from others, learn from the land. I had never been to St. Maarten. I'd been to St. Thomas years ago. And then at the end of the trip, I always kind of bookend it, the expectations, and then I want to know I reflected on all the good that happened. And I want to be honest with you. I don't know if anybody on here has ever been on a trip by yourself. I've been on a lot of trips, and I have a beautiful family and friends, but I have never been on a planned vacation where some of the people that were going to come couldn't come, and just decided to come. So it was a little scary, to come somewhere by yourself and not knowing what would lay out. But I chose to think of the best, and I came out with a couple things I was going to be reading on my journey. Of course, I'm working on, a lot of people are taking my course, the course that goes along with the book that I just recently wrote, Harder Storms, Higher Strength. And then I also am reading a couple other books, and I shared a little bit in one of my posts recently was Catherine Lee's book, The Journey for More, and I just read a chapter a day. It was just like a page and a half, and reflect there. I'm also part of a Bible study course. Thanks for Sandy Sykes for inviting me, being part of that. I've been 2 times with some of the groups, smaller, larger groups with the Bible study, and we're studying John, so I've been doing that in the morning. And then I went back to, for some reason, I was listening to a podcast on success and the School of Greatness and some of the things there, and I went back to a book, maybe The Secret. It was years ago I kind of read this book, and I liked it. I really believe in the power of prayer and the power of energy. The only thing I didn't like about it, because I felt like they used the word, magic or universe, and I just kind of bothered me a little bit to not give credit to where I believe the magic is the Lord, the universe is God in Christ, and the healing power comes from, of course, gratitude. I believe that. But I went back to it, and I just crossed out the words that didn't resonate with me. And I basically went through the whole thing on my plane ride to kind of refresh my memory, because I've always tried to bring success to my life, to help give the highest impact to others. And I want the very best for my life, and I realized in a few parts of my life I was focusing on what I didn't want versus what I did want. So part of vacation for me is a reset with my mind, what needs to be dismissed, what needs to be focused on, and going back to some of the basics. The basics are done well are always the most important part. So I, with a couple things that I've been working on in the morning, I always wake up and I always get my head right with prayer. I do my Luminate, which is hot little tea with a new, it's got nootropics and adaptogens in. I use that every morning in a little hot cup of water, mixed in with a lot of good things for my brain, and read and study and journal. So that's kind of my routine. But I wanted to share, I was a little afraid to come on a vacation by myself, and I want to tell you what happened. I after reading and priming the pump before I got here, I just said to make the best of it. So I want to tell you what happened right out of just in the airport, just in the airplane, the 4 hours, just reading and reiterating the power of gratitude and be grateful for everything in my life. And I was just in the middle of in the challenge of this book, The Secret, to thank everyone that's being part of helping me. So I just started, I had, how the airline stewards would, go through and they think if you want water, if you want this chips and stuff like that, sun chips, and I don't do the sun chips typically or that kind of stuff, but I asked her if she had any nuts, and she said she did not have any nuts. So I go, okay, I don't need any chips, So I just kept doing what I was doing, but I was reading this book, and it challenged in one of the chapters to focus on thanking anywhere you are. So I started saying, thank you for the pilot, thank you for the airline stewardess, and everything that was happening on that plane. And I just mentioned writing down, thank you for the airline stewardess, and literally 10 seconds after 30 minutes of her passing, saying she didn't have any nuts, she came back after 30 minutes and said, I found some nuts for you. And I thought that was so cool because I knew that I was on track with just bringing joy and the focus of bringing things to me that I wanted, that I was grateful for even before, or even if I didn't, didn't get what I wanted, but I was putting it out there. So that was really cool. So just knowing that, gratitude and focusing on what you want and people being blessed around you. And it was really neat just to see things start happening to me because I shift my fear of I didn't get my nuts versus it's okay, but bless everyone, and the airline stewardess as well, and she came back to bless me. So that was a boomerang. And then I was a little worried when I got to St. Maarten because I had to go through customs. I had my passport and hadn't done it for a while, international flight, or you have to have a passport. So I, getting off the plane, I hope I could make sure I filled out the paperwork right and went to go through the little, stopping points and everything else, and didn't know anybody, so I have to get a taxi. And so I was just changing my head. I'm so grateful for all that's coming, and it's going to figure it out. I didn't have anybody to help me or to be there to navigate it with me. And then I got down to looking for the luggage that came off the ramp at the airport, and all of a sudden I got a tap on my shoulder, and it was a really great friend from past, Michelle Phil and Rob Phil, that they used to live in Georgia. They lived there for, I knew them for 15 years or something. Great friends, and even a client, I think, one time, and partnered with my business and Juice Plus, and they moved to Wisconsin the last couple of years. And I couldn't believe it, so it was just like right out of the gate, I was feeling the answers that I put out there. I was going to have a fantastic trip, and the alignments, I credit all to God, that He aligned these things to me. We didn't plan this trip together, so they were there. We got to spend about 2 days-ish. We mapped it out. We rented a car together, and we had fun together. It was reminiscing. It was so great. So that was the second thing, just planning the best that was coming. I took a risk because I didn't know how it was all going to fold out. And then I wrapped this trip around my husband Dave's birthday. He would have been 67, and I thought, we go here. We love to do water things and scuba diving, and I'm just going to come and maybe reset a day of gratitude with the one day of his birthday on the 9th of October. And I was just coming out. It was, I think, it's the second day I was here, and at the end of the night, I just walked out by the little shore by where I'm at this private beach area, and I always love to find heart-shaped rocks. I collect them. I teach my grandkids to look for them and my kids, and I get them for other people at times. And I just walked out there, looking at the sun go down, and I just said, I want to find quickly a heart-shaped rock. Help me find one. And almost immediately I looked down and I found this amazing heart-shaped rock, and I noticed it was just so perfect for me. At that same time I was thinking about Dave, and there was a little hole on the one side of the heart, and I showed a picture of it in some of my things you may want to go back to look at. But I started thinking about what that means is that in my life, and what I've learned from the Lord, is when you have holes, and hi Jimmy, so good to see you joining in. Sometimes we have holes or struggles or things that aren't perfect or lack or whatever in our lives, but it's a chance, I believe, that God can fill something, and you become closer to Him because there's something missing that you're drawn to have Him show you or to magnify certain things in the space of our lives. And so in our lives we have spaces where things we have lost, or we have struggled, or we have a want or desire, and these little holes are a way for God to fill up. And that's my lesson I learned from that. It's just beautiful that God can fill these amazing things if we're humble, if we're teachable, if we rely on Him. And joy comes not from circumstances, it comes from focus. And what you focus on expands. And so that was something I wanted to share too. And then I know I did have a little time set apart for doing some work. I try to do maybe just an hour, aim to do an hour a day, maybe tap, tap, tap. And that's, I do a practice with in my home with different packages and programs and helping people really ramp up their health or to battle something strong with my modalities and some of my cutting edge services. But I also work within the Juice Plus, and so I have time to really work on blocking out some things, and I just took that time and realizing that it clears the clutter. When you go away and reset on vacation, or it could be going for a walk. I mean, you don't have to go to the beach and get away, but if you change your state, change the space of where you are, a lot of times you can get your head flushing out all the negative chatter or surface and look at that and go, what's that all about? And taking time to block out what's really important, what needs to be, and you can come home being more charged up. So I took that time, and I believe those things are really powerful. And one of the things I did to give self-care for me, I need to fill up so I can pour into other people. Hey, Jerry Lynn, and you know what I'm talking about. When you fill up with yourself, you can pour into others. And so I went to, one of the things I did for self-care is I went to get a massage. And during a massage, I came out of this amazing massage. It's a boutique and had a beauty aspect to this spa area with, you know, nails and foot pedicures, manicures, and things. But on the top was the massage area. And so when I checked out, I was talking to this lady, and I asked her, does she own this place? And she said, yeah. I go, what made you get in, do you have a passion to own a place like this and create it so beautifully? She had it all bling bling, and it was just great. It's a great place you want to be. And she says, when I was a little girl, I had a dream, and of being able to own and do something that she was so passionate about that she would not feel that it was a job. And so she created it and made it happen. And she feels like she works because she loves it. And I go, me too. I says, it's so amazing when you find things like that, and you find the inspiration. And sometimes your dreams come from desperation. I said that's how mine kind of started out, with a desperate call, and God opened up a door to help me have a burning passion to be a ministry, a business ministry type thing. It's a calling to inspire healthy families around the world, and that's how I got involved with Juice Plus, and that's how I got into creating a way to open a door to go to naturopath school and to really help others and help myself as well. And I said, have you ever, after we layered our trust and conversation down, and I said, she mentioned a couple things she was working on, and I said, have you ever considered having a nutritional component to your business to be able to have the nutritional insight come out to the outside, so you beautify both ways, you know, the massage, of course, you know, self-care, it's managing stress, and then also beautifying your nails or whatever, and having something that could be you know, some educational or a love going out the other way. And she said, never thought of that. I said, would you be open to it? Anyway, we've been working on some things. She's going to be potentially a partner with me, getting things set up this week, and got to hear her dreams. And it's just beautiful. I just want you to know that I put out there, I was brave, and I met people relaxed in my path in this vacation. So that was really beautiful, and wonderful way to reset and share programs and bring the best, because when you shine, your energy goes forth, and people can tell when you're full of your heart. And then another day, I was sitting there. I'm at this private beach area, and I was thinking, oh, should I go out there and get in the water? And I don't want to go by myself, you know. And I decided to go out there and go in the water. And I saw other women who were floating, and a gentleman floating with their little floaties, and wading in the water. So I just went out there and just said, hi, where are you guys from? I just made myself be friendly, and they said they were from California, and one was from Mexico that lives in California. She said, owns a restaurant, 30 employees, and it was just really neat, and it was just made a friendship. It was really cool how the friendship started happening, and it just showed me the power of kindness, because what she did, she coordinated a group of people that were together. They were friends that have been traveling for 20 years, or most of them had been traveling. They're an Italian family with a little Hispanic twist on it, with friends, and they really do things together. Some of them are widows, some of them divorced, some of them never been married, never had children, but they came together as a hodgepodge of friends that really were there for each other. But I was getting ready, I talked to them and just was enjoying the day, or the time in the water. And then the one girl, Gracie, and if you're listening to me, Gracie, she's so sweet, she came up to me and said, we want you to come with us tomorrow on our excursion. We have a private tour around the island. I go, oh, you guys go, you have, all your friends, you're together. She came up to me really close, and she says, we're family, you're coming tomorrow. And I just thought she was so kind, but she really included me, and I saw my gratitude when I came into this. I just went out, and I just didn't wait for somebody to talk to me. I went out to make friends and had this amazing time. And these friendships are built, they're layered now, and they invited, we had dinner, we went around the island, we had dinner yesterday, because one of the gentlemen, Daryl, is his birthday on Friday, and he's a chef in California too, and it's just, they made me feel so welcome, and we had so much in common. Anyway, just so beautiful, the friends that were aligned, and you are my family, and I want you to know, make people feel like they're part of family, and it was just powerful to just, Gracie was and she initiated that, and I met the others and got close to Denise and Daryl and all the others that were there, and Becky and Debbie and everybody, so Arlene. So I just said, that's what a kind of person I want to be, a reminder of, I want to be that kind of person where I just say, you're my family, come on. And friendships continue, will continue afterwards. So I made some friends that we can talk after and just help each other out. And then one night I decided to go out by myself, and I thought, I hadn't been to dinner by myself for a long time. you don't want to go to dinner by yourself. So I don't remember, maybe I have in my past, but I don't do it very often, So I went up and I thought, just go to dinner. What could it be, So I went to this dinner, and on the way to my table, this couple was sitting there, and I just said, hi, oh my gosh, how are you guys visiting the island? And they go, yeah, they're from Atlanta. Can you believe that? And it was just 40 minutes from me, and I said, oh, what a beautiful place. And I just said something that I would never probably have said, but I just said, may I join you for dinner? Huh. And they go, yeah, come join us for dinner. And I thought that was risky of me to say that, but we sat down, and I felt like God aligned me to this couple, because they both had been widows, lost their spouses, and they both were remarried and having a joy. It's a couple years in, and just knowing that God brings good things to people. Not every, marriage ends terrible, and it was kind of a reminder that good things can happen, and couples can be reunited as second marriages. So that was a little God wink for me, but it was neat to just ask, may I join you? And sometimes maybe you don't want people to join you, but they let me join them, and I want to be like that if I see somebody sitting alone. So. And then lastly, or not lastly, but one of the other things I was doing, I went to church here, and I called an Uber, and just knowing I've been praying and just practicing gratitude, aligning things to me, and guess who the Uber driver was? She lived on the island, and she was from, a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That was the church I go to. And it was like, wow, what's the chance of that, And she had worked on that. She was working that Sunday, and we just need to hear her story of how she was found by the missionaries and how she loved Jesus, and she just raising her family with Christ-centered focus and love of Him and redemption, the healing, the strength, and it was so cool. Got to go to church and just meet a lot of the members there, and just seeing their love on the island, and just beautiful. So that was kind of a God wink too. So the lessons that I wanted to share, because I don't want to go on too long, you won't stay with me, but expect the best. Expect the best, and the energy is going to flow, and the alignments will happen. I did it. I took a risk, and I went. Gratitude over fear. I started with gratitude instead of being afraid. I didn't know. I didn't want to be by myself. What am I going to do? But I found great friends, and I felt they were attracted to me. I was aligned, and I did take approaching people too with smiles and energy. It was wonderful. And then be kind to a friend and treat them how you'd want to be treated. And you are my family really stuck to me. The way Gracie came to me, you are my family. Prayer is the greatest energy that we have, and I believe that all these things that I've been reading, but also this big book on The Secret, really is about gratitude. It's really about prayer. And the author, Rhonda Byrne, she's a Christian, but she wrote a book. I learned from her she talked a lot about energy, and energy is our spirit, but the universe, all these words that she uses like magic. It's the law of attraction. It's magnetic. When you are positive and you are seeking and you're wanting, it's part of God's laws. And she put it out there with more of an international flair to draw more people in, but it's Christ-centered. So when I think of magic, in the book when it talks about magic, I just cross it out and put Christ. So also, there is good in this world. Sometimes we have so much going on in this world. It's so negative. It's so weighty. It's so, everybody talking about how bad this world is. But there is good in the world, and I saw that. And you get what you put out there. What you want to see is not what you see, it's how you are inside. Take off the films, the cracked lenses of these stories, and you can see different things because you are seeing with different eyes. So that was powerful. Also, the more grateful I was, the more things opened up to me, and it was easier as I got going and the momentum would flow. Took a risk. I opened my heart and I saw the surprises. And then joy isn't about the circumstances of our life, because I've been a widow for 20 plus years. I chose to pour into my kids, and now they're all, I didn't want to mix a lot of things when they were losing their dad. I poured into my kids. I worked with them until they got on their own, and now I can open the door for that other things. But I want to say that joy isn't found in circumstances. It doesn't You have disasters in your life, divorces in your life, deaths in your life, a lot of things that are lost. And I was talking to another lady on our excursion yesterday, sitting by her. She was a widow as well from Montana, and her husband had MS, battled it for 10 years. But she found joy in focusing on what she can control, what she could change, not the things that would have happened. So joy isn't about the circumstances of our lives, it's about the focus of our lives, what we choose to focus on, the gratitude, things that are going right, not the things that are going wrong. And then I just wanted to share lastly, my secret sauce for success and finding gold, the little golden thread throughout our lives, is put Christ at the center. You have to have Christ, in my opinion, at the center, because everything else will fail. I see boats in the harbor and they have been anchored down. They're not moving because they're anchored down close to the shore. And when the storms come and we have a little one day of overflow of a hurricane, the boats that are centered, or the lives that symbolically the lives that are centered in Christ and anchored, you're not going to reach for and just like grabbing on the sand. It's real solid. So the focus is Christ-centered. Gratitude is powerful, and I do 3 things every day. 2 things that I'm grateful for in present tense, and 1 thing I'm grateful for in the future. So when I think about the future one, it's really powerful because I think before I got it. And if you look at how Christ taught in the scriptures in the New Testament, he always think, and then he was able, the miracle came. So gratitude is really important, and it brings all good. It's the tipping point, really. Gratitude is prayer. And then holes, little holes in your life, or the holes, they will be filled with what you surrender to. We all have holes in our lives, and we look for the imperfections where God can shine light. Fill with water, fill with good people, with perfect alignments. They're powerful. And then trust your path. I trusted my path. I'm leaving today in about an hour. And I just am so grateful that I learned these lessons from people. I got a lot of people that I met. I didn't mention all of them. And my signature sauce for all of you watching or maybe watching, I have 2 books out. The first one was 10 years ago. It was Modern Day Miracles. It's the backstory of my life, of what I learned in the trenches, of how to trust the Lord, how to navigate hard, how to surrender, how to be able to witness the Lord teaching me, tutoring me to be grounded in Him, because that was the storm that I went through with my children and then my daughter, Sarah, with a brain tumor, and how our family came together. That's the backstory, Modern Day Miracles. And then just recently, about 2 months ago, it was my second book of how to navigate the 7 pillars, these storms in life, to become your strongest point. And I put it all together with my layered learning of a restored perspective in that book, and how to rewrite your story, how to trace the Lord in your story, and the things that I have learned from the Lord in 10 years with these 7 pillars. And then I have a YouTube channel, so if you want to follow me on YouTube, subscribe. I'm building that out. It's Dr. Rachel Smartt, ND. You can do the YouTube link and subscribe, and I give a lot on psychology of eating, of faith, and health and wellness. And then my course, if you want to go to Smartt Transformations with an S, so it's Smartt with 2 T's, Transformations with an S. You can look, and there's my course, free gifts, and some of my things that you can be able to have. That course is a discounted half price to be able to have access to the book. Of course, you can get it on Amazon, but you can get it through the website with a free gift. And the course is powerful. Many people are using it as Bible studies and working on 1 pillar a week or 1 pillar a month, and just realizing the best is yet to come. And I get ready to leave. I packed up everything, and I write in my journal. I love retracing the Lord in my life. I love seeing the best. The best is yet to come, and the best is now. And I'm so grateful to have taken time to reset, revamp, restore, be taught the lessons. But if you don't reflect on what you learned and you just waste it, same thing with your trials in your life. If you just get through a storm and go, oh, that was hard, I'm glad that's over with. If you trace it and you trace the Lord in it with gratitude, everything changes. So I hope that you enjoyed that, and Jennifer and Carrie and Jimmy and others that are joining in. And I can show you where I am before I leave here. Let me turn it around. So this is where I've been staying. So this is where I have been. It's a beautiful place. It's a private beach. And it's just, I'm going to come back. Totally. I do business here. And I always make sure that I always Oh, one thing I wanted to share you before I left, one thing that was different of all the things that I shared, there's something that they do that with their water bottles. I put in, of course, I always fill up my filtered water, and I always put in my, 30 raw fruits and vegetables with my superfood, and I always put my Illuminate in there. Sometimes I put it in my hot water, but sometimes I put it in the water. This is what they have that's different. If you want to know one thing that's different here, you know how in America or U.S. there's the cap comes off. They have it where it's stuck on. It doesn't come off, so you don't see them plastic floating around or lost or whatever. It's always stuck on the bottle. That was different. I like learning new things. That was the trivia. Anyway, make it a great day. Wednesday, I'll be home tonight and get back to work and back to things I love with a different focus. I hope you enjoyed the lessons. Maybe in the chat say which ones resonated with you. Have a good day.